The book, The 5 Love Languages, has no capacity to make one happy in a marriage, and it has no capacity to solve any marriage issue. Hello, I'm Karen Seitz, and this is the Happy Wife School. This podcast is for married women to realize that we are responsible for our happiness, that no one and no thing can make us happy, and that our husbands are not the source of our unhappiness. In each episode, I red pill married women to know that we are the problem in our marriages to good men. For the good men, this podcast will wake you up to the realities of your wife's woman ways, to take back the power you've unknowingly given away to her emasculation in a constructive, caring way. Before we dive into today's episode, a couple reminders. My message is meant for common and usual marital issues. My podcast is not intended for abusive, violent, or compulsive behaviors in a marriage that are threatening or dangerous. Also, please take a second to visit my website and learn more about my courses, which offer solutions for married women and good men. You can find the link in the description below. With all that being said, let's get started. What we're talking about today, the 5 love languages. The 5 love languages. Is it possible to have lasting love with your wife? And the reason that I want to talk about this today is I get on calls with good men almost weekly who are frustrated. They're frustrated. Their wife or therapist, couples therapist, or on their own accord, have read the book, The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman, and they're frustrated that they're speaking their wife's love language, whether that be acts of service, or physical touch, or gifts, or showing appreciation, words of affirmation and encouragement and validation. I'm speaking my wife's love language, but it's not making a difference. She's still blaming me. She's still unhappy. She's still moving the goalpost further. Why isn't it working? And I talk with women often of if he just spoke my love language, everything would be good and the problems would be solved. And it's just not true. So I want to talk about today the psychological concept of the 5 love languages, which is I need you to speak my love language to feel loved and cared for. And in return, I'll do the same for you and speak your love language and make you feel loved and cared for. And then we can come together in that and have a lovely relationship. It's logical. It seems like it should make sense. However, it's fundamentally flawed. It's a fundamentally flawed concept. The book, The 5 Love Languages, has no capacity to make one happy in a marriage, and it has no capacity to solve any marriage issue. And this is a red pill moment for both men and women to see a reality and break free of a belief that we have lived in about relationships, that there are no books that you can read. There is no marriage counseling advice that you can follow that will solve your marriage issues and problems. There are no books you can read, no marriage counseling advice that you can follow that will solve the issues in your marriage. And that seems like a pretty bold statement. It is a bold statement. But why? Why? If we make that statement, we've got to back it up. Why can no book like the 5 love languages or advice from marriage counseling, why can't they solve the issues in a marriage? And it comes down to codependency. The advice we read in books on marriage The advice we get from marriage counseling is based on codependency. Well, what is codependency? Put in simple terms, codependency is when the feelings you have about yourself are based on the actions, are dependent on the actions and behaviors of another. Simply put, codependency is when the feelings you have about yourself are dependent on the actions and behaviors of another. That's codependency. So in the case of the 5 love languages, I will feel loved when you do these certain things for me and speak my love language. And that is fundamentally codependent. I am dependent on you to do these actions for me to feel loved. So I will feel loved if you speak my love language. Or I will not feel loved by you if you do not speak my love language. That's codependency. My feelings of being loved are dependent on your actions and behaviors and what you do for me or don't do for me, which creates a complete enmeshment between two people in a relationship, which then leads to resentment and bitterness and hurt and hard feelings and an inability to see the ways a person does show up and show their care and love because we need it to be shown in a certain way. And if not, we don't feel loved. And we all know that the resentment that builds from that is poison and completely detrimental to a relationship. What all of this means for a good man whose fundamental nature, this is so important in this concept, a good man whose fundamental nature is loving, caring, generous, genuine, wants to do the right thing. In the case of a marriage, his number one motivation and priority is to meet the needs of his wife and to make her feel loved and to make her happy. That's a good man's number one priority in a relationship and a marriage with a woman. It's who they are. So in the concept of the 5 love languages, what this means for a good man is the advice of the book is telling you that you are the factor that will determine whether your wife feels loved or not. And that the reason why your wife doesn't feel loved is because you are not expressing her love language. That you are the sole factor. So the question is, who's responsible for if your wife feels loved or not? Who's responsible for if your wife feels loved or not? You or her? The truth is, there is nothing you can do as a good man to make your wife feel loved. There is nothing you can do as a good man to make your wife feel loved. And the women listening need to know there is nothing your husband can do or change to make you feel loved. Only your wife can allow herself to feel loved. Ladies, only you can allow yourself to feel loved. The responsibility is on our shoulders. If your wife was capable of feeling loved, she would not need you to speak her love language. And she would not need a love language. She would know and accept the love you express to her every single day as a good man. For the women listening who say, my husband does nothing to express his love to me, and you are married to a good man, it's one of two things. Because you're not able to experience the love he shows to you, and we'll get into the why of that in a moment. You can't see, you've blinded yourself. And in living in camp victim, blaming your husband for the ways you don't feel loved and looking for all the things he does wrong, all the negative things about him to prove your story of why he doesn't make you feel loved, you have blinded yourself. You've blinded yourself and cannot see and don't want to see the ways he shows his care and love for you and all the ways he tries to do the things that you ask of him so that you can be happy and feel loved. You can't see it. You've blinded yourself. Or you've pushed him away to the point where he has given up. And he's gotten so frustrated and so beat down that he's thrown his hands in the air and said, what's the point? Nothing I do makes any difference. She's just as unhappy. She just has more complaints. She's just moving the goalpost further, so why try? And he stopped trying. But if your wife was capable of feeling loved, she would know and accept the love you express to her every single day, and she would not need a love language. The sad truth for good men is your wife does not want to feel love and actually pushes it away. Your wife does not want to feel love and actually pushes it away. I am speaking from my own experience of knowing my experience as a woman of being so shut down to myself and feeling so badly about myself on the inside, going through it, the experience of actually feeling repulsed when my husband or anyone would try to show me love, and just had a big wall. My husband's a really good man and a sensitive man and has no problems expressing how he feels about me or toward me. And there have been times through my marriage and my own woman ways where it's like I cringe. And that's not a reflection on him. It's a reflection of me and what's going on inside of me. And then we have another big question. The big question of why? Why are we incapable of feeling love? And why do we actually push it away? And this is a question you guys ask often on the channel. And the reason is we feel so bad about ourselves on the inside. We feel so bad about ourselves on the inside as women, and we live with a facade that presents the exact opposite, which is very confusing. Where when a woman, and that was me, lives in a facade, it's showing to the world we're happy, doing things for others, giving off a false persona that we're confident and secure in ourselves. So that's one way. When we feel so bad about ourselves on the inside, we live with a facade that presents the exact opposite of feeling bad about ourselves on the inside, or we don't hide it. And our husbands get the brunt of our miserableness and blame. We wear our unhappiness and how badly we feel outwardly and don't even try to hide it. So when we feel so badly about ourselves on the inside and have such a dislike and even hatred toward ourselves, we cannot experience love. It is impossible. You can only experience love from another when you feel good about yourself and you love yourself and you show yourself the love you have for you. And from that place, you do not need a love language. You are gracious and accept and can see the ways you are loved and cared for, and it can appreciate that without it needing to be something specific and having any expectations. It is very true that you cannot love another and feel love from another until you love yourself. And we're going to get into the why, because that's the other big question. Why do we feel so bad about ourselves? That's where we are headed. But good men, this is why you get so frustrated in your marriage and try to think, what else can I do? And then think maybe a book like the 5 love languages will somehow help and somehow work. But you're running up against a concrete wall layered in steel and iron that your wife cannot accept and feel your love. So why? Why can't your wife feel and accept your love? And the truth is because she feels so badly about herself on the inside. And then that begs another question. Why? Why do we feel so bad about ourselves on the inside as women? So we're going to get into 5 reasons why your wife can't feel loved. The hidden secret that your wife doesn't want you to know, and can even be a hidden secret to herself, depending on how strong of a facade we can put on to not only others, but to ourselves. But the hidden secret she doesn't want you to know is that she feels like a POS on the inside. And POS is a piece of fill in the blank that begins with S. On the inside, we feel that we are the worst person we know. Another way to put POS, feel like the scum of the earth. So these 5 reasons explain why as women we feel so bad, why we can't be loved, and why we blame our husbands for all the problems and move the goalpost further and further and further away of the things that they need to do for us to feel happy and loved in the relationship. So the first reason that we cannot feel loved is that as women, we run on empty and we put everyone else's needs before our own, with the exception of our husbands. And as women, we make sure that we are drained with soccer practices and dance classes that we have to get our kids to, the committees we have to be a part of, the late hours we have to put into work, the commitment we make to make a meal for a friend's mom that's in the hospital that needs help. We make these laundry lists of commitments and purposely drain ourselves so that we have nothing left to give, can feel sorry for ourselves and play the martyr. We create a burnout schedule, a schedule that depletes us and burns us out in life, which creates an internal feeling of, I am not important. I don't care about myself. And then we project that onto our husbands in our marriage, that we show no care for them, no love for them, and project onto them they're the reason we feel so uncared for and so unloved. The second reason that your wife cannot feel loved, which is the reason behind why we feel so bad about ourselves, we don't take time to care about ourselves and take care of our own personal needs. In my happiness course for women, one of the exercises and one of the modules is 10 ways you put yourself last, meaning don't care for yourself. And some of these things are things like not getting up with our alarm and hitting snooze a million times, not getting dressed for the day and just throwing on sweats, not making our lunches, not eating breakfast, skipping breakfast and running out the door, not taking time to do things we actually enjoy, that we fill our schedule with all the things we think we should do or that we think we want to do, but aren't things that we enjoy that recharge us. And we don't make time for ourselves to truly care for our own personal needs. We might do things to keep up the appearance and keep up the facade, but we have no idea how to care for ourselves for the sake of making ourselves important and showing ourselves that we value ourselves, which ironically leads to an extreme selfishness. The third reason your wife can't feel loved, which is also the reason of why we feel so bad about ourselves as women. Number 3, we don't keep our word to ourselves, and we do not follow through on what we say we are going to do, especially to ourselves. We make empty promises of the changes we are going to make. Then we make empty promises to our husbands of the things we're going to change and improve upon. And we do not follow through. We make no effort to follow through. So in that, our word means nothing and we have no integrity, which makes us feel really bad about ourselves. Another concept that plays into this is a concept my colleague Josie talks about, who we are in the dark. Because we can present a wonderful facade to the world of how we follow through and we're there and we're going to be there and we're going to do what we say we're going to do to anyone and everyone but our husbands, sadly. But then who we are in the dark and the promises we've made to ourselves that then when no one's looking, we don't follow through on. So we might say, yeah, I'm going to cut out my phone time. And then there we are by ourselves in our car or where we get some alone time, maybe in the bathroom or even at the gym. And we're just scrolling. Every time we break our word to ourselves, again, it shows us we're not important, we don't matter, and creates a deficit in ourselves of self-value to where we have none. The fourth reason why your wife can't feel loved, because she feels so bad about herself on the inside. Number 4, we live life in a facade, presenting an image we cannot live up to, which then creates the internal feeling of being a fraud. And terrified, going through life terrified, we are going to be exposed and found out. And the 5th reason that your wife cannot feel loved and that we feel so bad about ourselves on the inside. Number 5, we do not want the responsibility of life and of our own happiness. We do not want the responsibility of life and our own happiness. We live in a fantasy thinking life is just supposed to work out and it requires no effort or hard work on our end to make things happen, coupled with wanting to be taken care of. We don't want to have to be the one to care for ourselves because we do not want the responsibility of life and what comes with it. So in that, we live in camp victim, blaming others for our experience, blaming our past for our experience in life and of ourselves. And from that, we have a laundry list of excuses of why we can't. And in a huge story of why our past holds us back. So I hope it's clear as it became very clear for me as a woman, not preaching to women or telling you what you're not doing or should be doing from a pedestal. I'm down here in it with you. Just been working on these things for a little while so that I can teach and share my own experience that I know you're having on the inside. And the harder you fight it and the more triggered you get is actually saying this is in you. Or you'd say, oh, I don't really see that, and move on. But I hope you can see, as I had to see, that when this is how we live life, running on empty, creating a burnout schedule, not taking time to do the things that truly care for us and care for our own personal needs, when we don't keep our word and don't follow through on what we say we're going to do, especially to ourselves, when we live in a giant facade, presenting ourselves as who we think we need to be in life, and then being terrified to be exposed, when we push away the responsibility of life and push away the responsibility of our happiness, the behaviors that creates, the excuses that create, when we live in can't victim blaming others, I hope you can see, of course we feel terrible about ourselves on the inside. There's no sense of I matter and I'm important to me. There's no integrity. And this is why we feel bad about ourselves. But the good news is, this isn't how we have to live. That when we see it, we can shine the light on these things, we can change. And when you're married to a good man whose nature is loving, caring, giving, responsible, wants nothing but for you to be happy, then you can actually see and appreciate the way he shows you that as who he is and a true expression of himself. And be able to give that back as an expression of who you are and actually feeling good about yourself, that's what makes a relationship work. That I'm dependent on me to feel loved within myself. And then because I'm married to a good man, can feel his love for me and how he expresses that. And moving into the solution for women, you have to change your perspective to know that your husband is not responsible to make you happy or feel loved. Your husband is not responsible to make you happy or feel loved. It is your responsibility to make yourself happy, to make yourself feel loved. And when you are married to a good man, that's who my message is for. Women married to good men, which is the majority of marriages. Not talking to women married to bad boys or narcissistic men. The majority of you are married to good men. His nature and his number one priority and motivation is to do whatever he can to make you feel happy and loved. It's their nature. And they will do that and keep trying and trying and trying and trying until they eventually will give up. Based on how we're treating them and continuing to move the goalpost, continuing to be miserable and unhappy, continuing to complain. You must know his number one priority and motivation in the marriage is to make you feel happy and loved. But if you are not making yourself feel loved and making yourself happy within you, you can't experience that love from him. That's why it is your responsibility to make yourself happy and to make yourself feel loved. So you can see and experience all of your husband's efforts and the ways he shows up to try to make you feel loved and happy. And that's what I teach women. It's the very basis of my happiness course for women is to teach you how to be responsible for yourself, to be happy in yourself and care for yourself in a way that allows you to live and can't take responsibility. The experience of myself in my life is on my shoulders, and I want that, which actually makes you feel really good about yourself. And then learning to care for yourself in the ways that actually work to build value in yourself and show yourself that you matter, which are often the things we don't want to do that we know we need to do. And learning to parent ourselves and doing the things we need to do that we don't want to do for the sole purpose of showing ourselves that we matter. I matter enough to do this for me, to show myself I care and love myself even though I don't want to. So speaking to the men for a moment and the solution for men. The most important message on my channel for good men is that there is nothing you can do or change in yourself, in your behavior, in your marriage that will make your wife feel loved and happy. There is nothing you can do or change in yourself or in your marriage or in your behavior that will make your wife feel loved or happy. If she is not happy in herself and does not love herself, this is the trap that good men get stuck in from the advice they're given, from their church, from the books, from marriage counseling, from their pastors, from their men's support groups. You need to step up and do more. You must not be doing the things she needs to feel safe and secure in the relationship and loved and cared for in the relationship. And a good man will wear himself down trying to do the things he thinks will make his wife feel happy or loved that he's supposed to do, or she tells him, or he's read in the books, which wears a man down, depletes him of his sense of self and confidence and strength and who he is as a man, and actually does the very opposite in your relationship with your wife. The more you try to do things to make her happy, the more you try to do things to make her feel loved, and she's not happy in herself and doesn't love herself, the more resentful she actually becomes, and the more she pulls away and pushes you away and gets angry. Because it's constantly sending her the message, because nothing you do makes her happy or feel loved, then it confronts her within herself of there's nothing that makes her happy, and she feels completely unlovable. So it backfires. And that's the main experience I hear from good men. I've done all these things. It actually seems like it's making it worse. It is. So that's why good men have to retire from doing the things to make your wife feel happy and loved. Let me explain that a little bit, because that can be very misconstrued. Good men, again, as I've said many times, even in this episode, you're motivated by doing things in the relationship and the marriage and showing your goodness and your care. So I'm not asking you or telling you to stop being who you are in the nature of who you are. But the things that you genuinely want to do and how you want to show up in your marriage and relationship, you have to flip the perspective of you're not doing those things to try to make your wife feel loved and happy. You do them as an expression of who you are, to make yourself feel good about yourself, because you're being true to who you are in your nature, being in the objective reality that your wife is unhappy and does not love herself. So you know there's nothing you're going to do that's going to change that unless she wants to do that for herself. So you stay true to yourself, doing the things that feel good to you to do in your marriage and who you want to be as a husband. But you retire from thinking that those things are going to move the dial in some way of your wife's happiness or contentment in the relationship because they won't until she does the work she needs to do on herself to feel good about herself and be happy and feel loved within herself. So that's why you have to retire from doing things from the perspective that it's going to somehow make your wife happy. And many of you do things that aren't things you would necessarily do, but you're doing them because your wife has told you that will make her happy. And those are the things you have to stop doing because it's not working and it's creating a monster inside of her. So you do the things that are true to you, of who you want to be, that are important to you, because it makes you feel good about yourself. Not because you think it's somehow going to solve the issues in your marriage or make your wife happy. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen today. If you haven't, go check me out on YouTube, Rumble, and X. You can find the links in the description below to connect with me there. For those women listening who know you are the problem and want a path forward to take responsibility and change your own inner turmoil and unhappiness, I have a course for women called the Happiness Program, which is the solution to the unhealthy relationship you have with yourself and the issues and challenges you have in your life and your marriage. You can find the link in the description below to apply for a free consultation with me. And for the good men listening who want a solution to take back the power you've unknowingly given away to your wife, I have a course for you too called the Marriage Rescue Course for Good Men Only that teaches you how to rebuild your strength and confidence as a good man so that you can navigate the relationship with your wife in a healthy, constructive way. Again, you can find the link in the description below to apply for a free consultation with me. Thank you again so much for listening, and I look forward to talking with you soon.